Down.
Which is a
Maybe you're the one that called.
Good morning, everyone. It's time to call to order the Thursday, April 17th meeting of the Post Falls Urban Renewal Commission to order. Director Lean, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chairman Baltzell.
Here.
Wunderlich.
Here.
Rarman.
Here.
Coles.
Here.
Crosby.
Here.
Karstensen.
Here.
And Babbage.
Here.
And Baltzell.
Mr. Babbage, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Are there any ceremonies, appointments, or announcements that need to be made at this time? Seeing none, are there any conflict disclosures on for anything that is on the agenda this morning from anyone? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Director Lean.
Yes, Chairman Baltzell. Item A in the consent calendar this morning is the Commission City Council meeting, the joint meeting minutes from March 18th. Item B in your packet is Commission workshop minutes of March 20th. Item C is the strategic planning session minutes from our meeting on March 27th. And then item D is the Commission workshop minutes from April 9th. Item E this morning is payables for the month totaling $192,982.10. Item F is the bank activity report, which shows total funds in all accounts of $7,150,659.53. And that also shows accrued interest for the month of $766.92. Item G is the financial reports as of March 31st, 2014, and those, again, are printed from our in-house QuickBooks accounting system and are always posted to our website. Your approval of the consent calendar will authorize the transfer of $766.92 in accrued interest to the general fund, and also transfer to the INB checking account the amount of $192,982.10 for general payables. Chairman Baltzell, I would answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions on the consent calendar from commissioners? If not,
Chairman, I would move the approval of the consent calendar.
thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. And I'd just like to say also to Tom and also specifically to Diane how grateful I am in the detail that comes out in those minutes. And they're almost verbatim, pretty much are verbatim, and I think that's good because when we go back to look at those for whatever reason, it's healthy to be able to see just exactly what was said. And I think that especially Diane does a significant job in making sure that they are accurate and timely. And so I just let her know that I appreciate that, and I think the rest of the commissioners do as well.
Thank you. I'll pass that on.
Please do. Committee updates, finance and policy. Commissioner Karstens.
Nothing exciting. I just wanted to thank Tom for his at the workshop last week, going over the flow of the funds once it hits the office and how it's run through to the different accounts and how it's removed from this account and transferred to this account. And obviously it's confusing, but once he explains it, it kind of makes sense. There is a concern that we're going to address. I talked to Tom about this. On Community Bank, on our CDs there, we've exceeded the FDIC amount, but Tom said that the next time there's an interest payment, that can be adjusted or taken care of. So,
If I may, actually two things. Diane and I spent some time yesterday on your first comment on the funds flow on all of the different accounts. Comment was made at one of our last meetings about doing the ACH transfer through the checking account instead of the money market. Yes, we can do that. Diane and I looked at that, talked about it. We feel that we want to keep it the way it is. It's been working that way for 10 years, and one of the aspects of doing it that way is that if you have the ACH transfers between here and the LGIP account in Boise, if those are run through the checking account, because of the volume of other transactions that go through the checking account, the LGIP transfers are not as visible. There's more visibility, transparency in keeping those running through the money market as we are now doing it. We feel more comfortable in identifying those transactions. So we had a pretty good discussion on that yesterday, but we did take it into consideration. On the community first interest, Diane called and talked to them yesterday. We are over a couple of $100 in interest, accrued interest. That's why we start the CDs that we have in the different banks. We start them at $245,000 so that accrued interest will not take us over the $250,000 maximum. That's FDIC insured. A couple of $100 is not a significant amount, and by the end of April, that will be taken care of by the bank. We will set up a system to where they transfer accrued interest to us either by a check on a monthly or quarterly basis or in a direct transfer to our checking account at INB or money market account. Anyway, both of those issues are non-issues at this point.
Okay, very good. As it relates to Commissioner Babich's question, I think it's a valid question, and it also has staff the opportunity to take another look to make sure that what they're doing may or may not be able to be done in a more efficient manner, and you've done that in your homework, and it still appears to be valid. So I think the process is good, and same thing with the question relative to the excess over the 250 on the interest. And it's healthy, too, for all of us to hear the answers and the responses, like when Len had asked about the flow of funds and so on, and working through that at the workshop, I think was good for all of us, especially the newer people, to be able to understand that confusing flow of money. So, all right, good, thank you. District review.
Yeah, we met after the April workshop with Commissioner Coles, Baltzell, myself, Tom, and Diane, and I believe it is the Centerpoint district that was last reviewed in 2006, if my memory serves. And Tom and Diane are working through that to update that for June or July.
Very good. And I think also the intent is to make an in-depth systematic look at each of those districts, going from one that's oldest in terms of review and working through it. And I think she has a good plan there for doing it. It's not going to happen in a month or 2 months. It's going to be over a period of time. And that way we do a good, thorough analysis of where we are. Some will take less time than others, you know, just because of the difference in size or the activity or lack of activity that's going on. So I think she's doing a good job in leading that. Any other comments on that? Communications, Property, and Personnel Committee. Colin, anything new?
Nothing new.
Okay. Very good. This is the time for citizen comments. If there are any citizens out there who would like to address the commission regarding an agency-related issue, comments related to future public hearings should be held for that public hearing. Persons wishing to speak will have 5 minutes. And it looks like we have 2 possibles. Is there anything out there that you would like to share with us today? Okay, well, we're welcome to have you here. Okay, unfinished business. Greens Ferry Overpass update. Director Lean.
Thank you. Yeah, on our February expense, the current month expense total was $34,537.42. was not February. That's as of, that's the March expense, not February. My error. On total expense to date, that is $658,707.60. And that pretty much is billings that we have received for the owner's rep and all of the work that they've been doing. And part of the stuff that they've been doing on schedule, as of the March 25th due date, the project team has received 13 alternate technical concept submissions, the ATC, and that's from the 3 proposers. Those have been reviewed, and some of them were accepted, with a couple of them resulting in addenda to the RFP. We're on schedule to receive the proposals by April 24th, and it will take about 30 days to perform a technical and cost review of those proposals. And then we will end up by May, we will do, around May 22nd, we'll do a selection of the final design build team on the Greens Ferry Overpass project. And from May to June, we will look at executing a contract with that entity. And then we're looking at June, coming into the commission in June with the contract for approval. And of course, before that approval date, the contract will be presented. There'll be a presentation to commission at workshop, so you'll all have the detail on that contract before it comes in for approval.
Right, and I'd like to make sure that we have, if not the entire, I don't know how long the contract will be, but it'll probably be extensive, but at least a synopsis of that to the commissioners prior to the workshop, so they have an opportunity to, think through it and see if they have any questions or anything prior to the workshop. I'd just like to back up a minute for the people that are watching this broadcast, and that is, I encourage you to go to our website if you want to review the minutes of our joint meetings with the council, our commission meetings, our strategic planning meeting minutes, and our workshop minutes, I believe, are all posted online for you to review. They're extensive and I think really give you a good view of the discussions that go on at those meetings that are healthy and help us to be able to move forward in a really worthwhile manner. So I encourage anyone watching this broadcast that are interested to go to the website and take advantage of the discourse that goes on, because it's even identified by the name. So whatever I might say is, I own those words, and same thing with Lynn and whoever makes them. We own those words, and you know who said it and the responses and so on. And I think that's, again, very healthy. So I just wanted to make that comment, encourage those that are interested to take advantage of those postings. Okay.
If I could.
Certainly.
Yesterday, as you may know, every other Tuesday, the Greens Ferry Committee has a meeting to get updated on what's going on. And yesterday's meeting, Tuesday's meeting, was actually canceled because at this point, it's kind of waiting for information, more information to come in. So that one was canceled by JUB, but we're going to have a telephone conference coming up, and they're supposed to get us the numbers so we can get anything new that came out, will get us updated on that. And it's quite a process, as we are finding out when we sit in those meetings. We got a meeting coming up in May sometime that's basically an all-day meeting, looking at all the proposals and grading them, so to speak. So it's not just going to the meeting and having a cup of coffee, that's for sure. So anyway, as things go along, like Tom said, we will keep everybody up to date. So.
That's great, Larry. Would you reiterate the due date on the proposals?
24th.
4th, okay.
24th of April. So that is moving forward, and
Yeah.
once we get those in, it's going to be rocking and rolling to get it underway. So hopefully that'll all come together the way we anticipate. Thanks for your work. I know Larry and Tom both sit on those groups that meet at least twice a month, all afternoon practically, and the amount of detail, I think the proposals are like this thick. There's a lot of information to digest, and I believe the cohort there to the right, our attorney Pete Bredesen is also wrapped into those pages, so
Oh, yes.
You got to memorize, I think.
he's got to memorize it? Yeah. Okay, very good. Thanks, Laurie, I appreciate that. Any new business to be brought before the commission?
Mr. Chairman, as I know we know, but the community may not know, County Clerk Brannon issued a report on the urban renewal impact on taxpayers, which is enlightening in the fact that although the overall impact of urban renewal on the taxing entities went up 2.2%, Post Falls Urban Renewal District was the only district that had 4 of its districts, the only urban renewal agency that had 4 of its districts with a reduced tax burden. The tax burden went down over those 4 districts, an aggregate of $300,000, and that reduced the impact of the agency on the city, on the fire district, and on the library. So I think, in looking at this report, which is 3 pages of numbers and percentages, and then analyzing it, we should be happy with the way that we are reducing our footprint on the taxing entities and also allowing more of those tax dollars to flow to the taxing districts, therefore enabling them to meet their budgets without increasing their tax impact on the citizens of the community.
Very
So
good.
I wanted to make that point.
Thank you, Commissioner Crosby. That's an important point to make, and it's also might be a little bit interesting to note that the numbers that are related to the press and so on from the county clerk are not exactly the same numbers as are reported by the county assessor. And Commissioner Director Lean is trying to get the handle on that as to why they would be different on the same year, same properties, et cetera. Not a lot of difference, but I think enough to where at least you wonder.
There's questions, because if you get one set of numbers in March 24th from the assessor's office that shows the total assessed value of our districts, and therefore using the levy rate, the effective levy rate, you can back into the amount of increment funds that we would receive. We use that information to project for budget purposes for the following year. And also, our districts, working with the proponents, they're involved in putting together loans to support their development projects, and they look to us for projections on the increment based on the information that we receive from the county. So on March 24th, we received one set of numbers from the assessor's office, and then 2 or 3 days ago, we got the annual update from the county clerk's office, and the numbers are different. And they both say these are the numbers you should use for your budgeting process and everything. Well, that's fine, but which one do you want me to use? We have opted to use the assessor's numbers because they're a little more conservative. They're a little lower, but they are a little more conservative, and that's the basis that we have used the last several years on doing our budgets and projections for increment flow for the districts, the proponents. We have set up a meeting for, I believe, Monday morning, next Monday. Julene Hildreth is coming out from the assessor's office, and she's going to walk through all of these numbers. I sent her the email questioning the difference. So she's going to come out Monday and sit down with Diane and I and go through those numbers so that we have a better comfort zone on what we're working with.
Very good. And thank you for bringing that up, Len, because that is an important item when we have those things go on the news to see how that affect us and how we're being viewed by the public. Is there any other new business at this time? Okay. Before we go into staff report, I'd just like to acknowledge Ms. Nancy Maybell in the back is here visiting us. She's the former chairman of this Urban Renewal Commission. And welcome, Nancy. I know she follows our procedures on a regular basis, and it's nice to see you here visiting us. Staff report and updates. anything additional you want to report, Tom?
Just a couple of quick comments. On the website statistics, you received information on that. I just wanted to mention that there was a question a couple of weeks ago on activity on our website relative to the video that we have posted on there. And we have been running 6 views on that video each of the last 3 months. Not a lot, but it is there, and it would be interesting to know who's looking at that. On the top 4 areas that are looking at our website, the number 1 area is Post Falls, and then Coeur d'Alene, then Spokane, and then Boise. And we go all the way out to Omaha for recorded statistics for people that are looking at our website. Last thing I had in staff report, on the Spokane Street corridor, sent a letter over to the city administrator regarding the need for a BNSF Burlington Northern construction and maintenance agreement prior to going out to bid on that project. If, as circumstances dictate, BNSF usually takes a long time, and we don't know. We can't hang our hat on when that C&M agreement will be executed with BNSF. If we can't go out to bid until we get that agreement, then, and one of the reasons is that where you have the railroad crossing and Centennial Trail crossing on Spokane Street, if you look at 2 zones for the irrigation and power to the north of that crossing and the second zone to the south, those in the initial construction plans, those were slated to be connected under the railroad with irrigation and power so that it's all one zone. If we can't do that construction until we get the agreement with BNSF, and if they don't come back with that until late summer or fall, then we can't go out to bid. We have an agreement with the bank right now on an interest rate for funding this project. If we go out more than 90 to 120 days, that rate conceivably could go up, and that would cost us more money. Also, materials cost on the project would probably go up a percentage. That's normal. So what I'm doing, I'm working with the engineer on, and I have a cost from them to put in an additional control box for irrigation so that we can actually set it up with 2 zones, 1 zone to the north, 1 zone to the south of the railroad, so that we can just not do anything with the railroad. Go ahead and go out for bid on this project, do that section on the railroad track, do that as an add option so that that construction, that can be completed at a later date. I ran some numbers on this using our projected revenue and the loan, the debt service. If we go over 90 to 120 days and the rate increases 1/8%, that would raise our financing costs about $3,600. 1% increase on material on half of the material costs, say $800,000. If we see a 1% increase due to these delays, that's another $8,000. So the combination of those, we're looking at about $11,000, $12,000 increased cost. To have the engineers to go ahead and do this, set it up to where we have 2 zones, that's going to require a little bit of a design change, engineering change, so that you can take that when you go out to bid, so they can bid it accordingly. And also it would result in a little bit more construction cost. So the total cost on that, on the engineering and construction differential, would be about $9,000 increase in the project. That's less than what we're looking at the potential increase in costs would be on interest rates and material cost if we just sit and wait for midsummer, late summer, early fall before we go out to bid. So that's the direction, just for information, that's kind of the direction I'm moving right now with our engineering firm.
Yeah, and not only that, is the timeliness of completing the project, the delay in the completing the project if we wait as opposed to being able to take action. So we do have an alternative, and it kind of depends on the response we get back from the city and the railroad on our letter we sent.
And we still need that response. We still need the C&M agreement with the railroad, because we will still need to do that small piece of work in the future. And just another note, just for the public, for those that have not driven down Spokane Street lately, the signalization at 4th Avenue and Spokane Street is complete. We've got, instead of the flashing red, we now have the red, green, and yellow. So it's a fully functional signalization at this point. And that was part of the Spokane Street project.
Right.
So we're good on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
questions
question?
on-
Yes. I think that's a very prudent thing to do and to put us in a position to move forward. Is there any impact on the project by virtue of the width of the railroad's easement? Because obviously, to the extent that we don't have a C&M agreement with them, we can't enter into that easement to make improvements on the roadway.
I don't see an impact there. We know what the railroad.
You know the width of the rail?
We know the width, yes.
It's not 15 feet on either side or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
We know what that is, and we will stay outside of that.
Sure.
We can even stay outside a few more feet, more than necessary, and then complete that at the
Understood.
appropriate time.
Now, this same problem impacts Spencer Street, and there we cannot, there's no workaround because we have to have a new crossing. Can you?
That's an interesting topic. The railroad, through an MOU with the city, the railroad has approved the crossing construction at Spencer Street as part of the MOU. However, they have not executed the construction and management agreement, maintenance agreement with the city. We're waiting for that to happen before we can do anything out there, even go out to bid. And we can't work around that one because it's not an
Sure.
existing crossing. We can work around Spokane Street because it is an existing crossing. But it's similar, but they're not the same.
No, I understand that, yeah. I just want to make sure we weren't, that my perception that we weren't in a position to move that project forward until we actually have something from the railroad was accurate.
That is correct.
Would it be of any use if the commission sent a letter to the mayor with the idea that the mayor could then show that to the railroad, basically saying we have these projects pending?
And that's a good question. The letter that we sent under my signature to the city administrator with
Yes,
a
sir.
copy to Mayor Jacobson and a copy to the city engineer addressed both of those issues.
Oh, perfect.
The timeliness, how much we've spent, how much time we spent trying to put these together, the necessity of the timeliness of getting responses and coordination done to be able to move forward, the impact of not doing that in as nice a way as we could do that to try
Sure.
to give them some tools also to go to the railroad and say, hey, we need to have help with this. It was pretty pointed, but it was, I think, courteous and factual. And matter of fact, if you want to send a copy to as an attachment to the commissioners, they can see what was sent. We just sent it, Friday?
Just in the last few days.
That's,
yes.
that's great, because that gives the city more data to make their case.
Yeah, and we did that because that's an important thing to do. We're trying to light the fire, but we're trying to find where to put the fire, you know what I'm saying?
Understood.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on any of that? Okay, anything else on your staff report and updates? Commissioner comments?
None for me.
Gosh, we could string this out a little bit longer, couldn't we? No, I appreciate that, and my comments are, under chairman comments, again, to thank our staff and our staff attorney, Pete Bredesen, and the executive director, and Diane, and those folks sitting back in the room that keep the red light on us, do an absolute superb job, and we thank you guys for being here basically every month and listening to us, and to the crowd out there that might be listening today too. We appreciate what you do, and let us know if you have any thoughts or ideas you'd like to share with this commission for consideration. And I hope you all have a very happy Easter, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. This meeting is adjourned.